Okay, so the basics to solving anytime there's a square is you're going to take a square root. So in the last section we saw that when we had root equations, we square both sides. In this chapter, when we have squares, we root both sides. And when we do that, like I said in the intro video, we're going to get that plus or minus. And the reason is, let's say I had something easier like k squared equaled 25. 5 times 5 would make 25, and negative 5 times negative 5 also makes 25. So when we take the root of both sides on something like that, we have to be careful, to get that plus or minus in front to account for both the roots. So let me undo that stuff now. Coming over here, when the number's a little tougher, we're still going to root both sides. Same principle, but the hard part is now the chapter 4 and trying to figure out how to simplify that 1134 there. So square root of k squared makes plain k, and this is going to be plus or minus something. So here's where I want to try to figure out how I can break down 1134 to see if there's any perfect squares in there. So a reminder from chapter 4, 2 squared made 4, 3 squared made 9, 4 squared makes 16, etc. So those are the numbers, 25, 36. Those are the numbers I'm going to try and see if I can figure out how to break this down. So if I go 1134 divided by 4, let's see where that gets me. Gets me a decimal, so that did not work out. So we'll clear that one. Now let's go 1134 divided by 9. Let's see if that does anything good. Okay. So that is 9 times, actually let's do it over here, 9 times 126. Let me get rid of that one for a second. So the 9's good. I found my first square, and now I'd like to figure out how to break down this 126 here. It's an even number, so let's try dividing that by 2 just to see if we can get down to something smaller that we can recognize what to do with. Yep, 63. Okay, so now we have, now I'm on eraser, 9 times 2 times 63. So 63 is 9 times 2 times 9 times 7. And the reason I'm going 9 times 7 is, again, I'm looking for perfect squares. So we started with this really big number, and I don't know what 1134 breaks down to. I'm just using a calculator and figuring it out here. But what I got is that I got this pair of 9s, so that's super useful because that's 81, and square root of 81 is about to be a 9. And then the other part that's left is a 2 times a 7, so I'm going to think of that as times 14 because neither of those are squares, so that's going to stay inside. So now I have plus or minus square root of 81 makes 9, and then square root of 14 is what's left behind. And so your two answers are 9 root 14, and I'm not sure what the answer entry was for this question, but then the second solution is 9 square root, 14. So those are the two solutions.